The alien baron teased him by handing over his paralyzed daughter, but he saw her true potential. The neon-lit halls of Baron Thexacidatel cast an eerie purple glow everywhere, and Jackson Reed's battle-scarred armor reflected it as he stood facing the alien nobleman, his patience thinning. The Baron's emerald skin shimmered with barely hidden amusement as he relaxed on his crystalline throne, flanked by guards with twitching fingers on their triggers. "Dear human," Baron Thex drawled, his silver eyes gleamed with malice, "surely you understand these are tough times. Credits are hard to come by these days." Jackson clenched his jaw, his facial muscles tightening under his stubble. "We had an agreement, Baron. I sorted out your little troublemaker, now it's your turn to deliver." The Baron's laugh echoed through the chamber, sharp and chilling like shattering glass. "Oh, but I have something even more valuable than credits for you." He signaled to his guards, who disappeared behind an ornate door. "I don't have time for games," Jackson ground. "My ship needs fixing," and his voice faltered as the guards returned, pushing a wooden cart. On it sat one of the most stunning creatures he'd ever seen. Her skin was a gentle, pale green, soft and almost translucent, while her long, flowing hair blended into the deep midnight darkness. She wore a daring beige gown that left little to the imagination, the corset-like top accentuating her figure in a way that made Jackson's throat tighten. But it was her eyes that truly grabbed him, bright, sharp, fueled by barely contained anger. "Let me introduce my daughter, Thyla," the Baron declared theatrically. "She's been, let's say, compromised since a tragic accident left her paralyzed from the waist down. Now, she's almost worthless to me. Maybe you could find some value in her?" The princess's voice cut through the scene like a plasma blade. "Father, you can't just silence him," she snapped. "The deal's done. Guards, help our guest load his new property onto his ship." Jackson's gaze flicked from the Baron to the furious princess, feeling like this had to be some cruel joke. But as he watched the guards roughly lift Thyla onto a hover stretcher, he realized the Baron was serious. "You can't just give away your own daughter," Jackson protested, even as his mind whirled with possibilities. The black market would pay a fortune for an alien noble, whether she was paralyzed or not. The Baron responded smoothly, "I think I just did. Unless you'd prefer I have my guards escort you out empty-handed?" Jackson's hand instinctively moved to his sidearm, then hesitated, pulling back. He was capable, but not enough to fight his way through an entire fortress of armed guards. "Fine, he's tough. But this isn't over, Baron." Watching the guards haul Thyla toward his ship, he felt her eyes burning into him. Once they were out of earshot from the throne room, she spoke quietly but sharply. "If you think I'm some helpless damsel you can sell to the highest bidder, you've got another thing coming, human." Jackson met her gaze, surprised by the fierce determination in her voice. "Honestly, I'm just trying to figure out how to get off this planet without getting shot. We can discuss your value as a commodity later." A flicker of something, was that amusement, passed over her eyes. Before he could figure it out, they reached his ship, the Stellar Vagrant. As the guard, the starship's engines surged to life as Jackson maneuvered away from the Baron's stronghold. Behind him, in the makeshift quarters of the cargo bay, Princess Thyla leaned against the wall, her elegant gown flowing around her like shimmering starlight. "You're wrong if you think you can sell me," she said, breaking the heavy silence. Her aristocratic tone made her threats sound even more threatening. "The black market dealers you're after, they're all in my father's pocket." Jackson kept his eyes on the controls, jaw tight. "Mind reading now, princess?" "Please," she scoffed. "I've seen that calculating look before. But I have something much more valuable than the price you probably expect." "Let me guess, your eternal gratitude?" His sarcasm was obvious in his tone. "Information." That word hung in the air between them. "About my father's illegal arms deals, his dealings with the Ravagers you just fought." "Everything." Jackson finally looked at her, studying her carefully. The ship's low lighting showed the faint glow of her pale green skin. For a moment, he was distracted by the way her chest rose and fell with each breath. The tight corset of her gown didn't do much to obscure her, but he forced his gaze back to her face. "Why would you betray your own father?" Thyla's laugh was bitter. "That man stopped being my father the day he decided a paralyzed daughter was useless to his legacy. He's been trying to get rid of me for months, through arranged marriages with old, feeble nobles, then through more tragic accidents. This was just his latest attempt. And I'm supposed to trust you? Jackson stepped closer, heels clicking on the metal floor. For all he knew, this was some elaborate trap. You don't have many options, she said, a hint of smugness creeping into her tone. Your ship's reactor is failing. I can hear the irregularities in the engine's harmonics. You need credits for repairs, and my info could get you enough to buy 3 new ships. Jackson cursed softly. She was right about the reactor. He'd been hoping to fix it with her father's payment. Fine. Talk. Not yet. Her eyes glinted with intelligence. First, we need to make a deal. A mercenary, smuggler, sometimes a champion for the oppressed. But you're not really that kind of monster. She shifted slightly, causing her gown to slip a bit more off her shoulder. I think we could both gain something from this. Jackson felt his cheeks flush and cursed his body's traitorous reactions. This alien princess was more dangerous than she looked. Stop that. What? Her innocent facade was obvious, but now her expression carried a teasing glint. I'm just trying to get comfortable. It's not my fault human men are so easily distracted. You're hurt, remember? Only from the waist down. Her voice dropped to a sultry whisper. Everything else still works perfectly. Jackson ran a hand through his hair, trying to stay focused. Let's stick to the main point. What kind of intel are we talking about here? Phyla's face tightened. Anything that could take down his whole operation, shipping records, corrupt officials, secret accounts, everything. But we need to move fast. Once he figures out I'm genuinely on your side, not double-crossing, he'll send hunters. Great, just what we needed. Jackson examined their route, figuring out an escape from the Baron's territory. And those medical stations you mentioned? On Nexus 9 close by, but heavily guarded. Stealing into one won't be easy. It never is. Amidst the chaos, he found himself smiling. You know, Princess, you're not what I expected. And what did you think? A helpless noble begging for rescue? Nothing like that. Sorry to disappoint you. She didn't sound sorry at all. Oh, you're not disappointing at all. The words slipped out before he could stop them. He saw her cheeks flush, probably with the alien version of a blush. A soft, steady hum of the ship filled the silence between them. Jackson found himself stealing glances at her when he thought she wasn't looking, admiring the way she held herself with dignity despite her circumstances. We caught him once and raised an eyebrow, causing him to quickly look away. We should reach neutral space in about 6 hours, he said, clearing his throat, and you should rest. Are you offering to carry me to bed, Jackson Reed? Her tone was teasing, but there was something else there too, a hint of genuine vulnerability. If you need help, yes, he tried to keep his voice professional. But something tells me you figured out ways to manage on your own. Smart man, she used her arms to adjust her position, movements graceful despite her limitations. But I might take you up on that offer someday. Station Nexus 9 loomed before them, a massive structure of gleaming metal and pulsing energy fields. Jackson guided the stellar vagrant through the docking procedures, while Lila studied the station's schematics on a holographic display. The medical facility is in Section K7, she said, her fingers dancing through the projection. But there's a problem. The station's supervisor is Lord Darius Krell, Jackson's fingers tightening on the controls. That same Krell, who's responsible for most of the illegal dealings in this sector. Exactly. Phyla's lips twitched into a knowing smile. And he's been after my father's weapons deals for years. Before Jackson could speak, the ship's comm crackled on. A message popped up on the screen, inviting him to meet Lord Krell himself, with an offer that made Jackson's eyes go wide. 5 million credits, he whispered, just to hand you over. Phyla's voice was deliberately steady. And are you tempted, Jackson Reed? She faced him, her calm demeanor despite being strapped into the makeshift seat they'd rigged. After all this time, he'd grown used to her presence, to their conversations that always seemed to hide something beneath. "You know what's interesting," he said, ignoring her question. "Krell's offering exactly what your father's weapons contracts are worth. Almost as if he knows what secrets you're hiding." Very perceptive, she adjusted her gown, deliberately drawing his gaze. "Krell has spies everywhere, but he doesn't know everything, like how I've already hidden all my father's data in secure locations. If anything happens to me, it'll go straight public." Her smile sharpened, almost predatorily. "The experimental medical tech I mentioned isn't just for paralysis, it's a major breakthrough in neural interface technology that both Krell and my father would kill to get their hands on." Jackson ran his hand through his hair, a gesture Thylos had learned to recognize as frustration. "Couldn't you have brought this up earlier? Would you even have believed me?" She reached out, taking his hand as he passed. Her cool touch sent an unexpected shiver down his spine. "Besides, I needed to be sure." "Sure of what?" "That you're the man I thought you were." Her thumb traced gentle circles on his palm. "The man who sees beyond the surface, beyond a paralyzed alien princess who's just supposed to be a burden." Jackson felt himself inch closer, pulled by something in her eyes. "And what kind of man is that?" "Someone ready to help me slip cutting-edge medical tech past one of the deadliest crime lords in the sector." Her smile was playful yet inviting. "Unless, of course, you'd prefer the 5 million credits," he added, catching both of them off guard. "You know, Princess, I'm starting to think your father was even more clueless than I first thought." Her eyebrow raised smoothly. "He saw you as broken goods, just a liability to toss aside." Jackson leaned in close, face near hers. "But I see potential and intelligence sharp enough to outweed both your father and Krell. The guts to risk everything for a shot at freedom. And, her breath hitched for a moment. And someone who makes me forget she's supposed to be a burden every time she dares to challenge me." A deep emerald flush spread across her cheeks, yet her eyes glinted with mischief. "Only when I speak, don't start," he warned, though a grin tugged at his lips. "We need to stay focused. How do you suggest we get into that medical facility?" Thyla activated another hologram, this one showing the station's security patterns. "Krell's invitation is actually perfect. He'll be expecting you to either reject it or try to negotiate. Instead, you'll accept. While I use the maintenance tunnels to access K7, there's a service elevator that's perfect for someone who's good with her upper body strength." She demonstrated by easily lifting herself with just her arms. "I'll need you to create a distraction when I reach the lab." Jackson watched her movements, admiring both her physical capability and her strategic thinking. "And what happens when Krell realizes we've played him? By then, we'll either have succeeded or be dead." She shrugged, the movement causing her gown to slip slightly. "But I don't think we'll fail." Such confidence. "Even myself?" "Always." "In you?" Her eyes met his, suddenly serious. "More than I expected to have in anyone." The moment stretched between them, heavy with unspoken possibilities. Finally, Jackson cleared his throat. "We'll need supplies. And you'll need something less conspicuous to wear." "Are you saying my royal attire isn't suitable for crawling through maintenance tunnels?" She affected an exaggerated pout. "And here I thought you enjoyed the view." "Thala," she corrected softly. "After everything we've been through, I think it's only fair you use my name, Thala." He tested the sound, satisfied with how it felt. "We should get prepared, the Krell don't have much patience." She nodded, her face growing thoughtful. "But neither do I, especially now, when I'm so close to walking again." To actually doing it, she hesitated, her eyes flickering with unspoken meaning. Jackson swallowed hard, trying to focus on the mission details, but part of him kept wondering what it would be like to see her walk, to see her move as elegantly as before, maybe even dance with her. The gentle hum of the stolen medical tech fills the makeshift clinic in the vagrant's hideout. Its neural interface glows softly blue as it connects to Thala's nervous system. Jackson kept his eyes on the diagnostic screens, a mix of worry and curiosity on his face. how does it feel?" he asked, noticing the flush spreading across her pale green skin. "Strange," Thala sighed, her fingers gripping the edge of the table. "It's like every nerve inside me suddenly ignites all at once. I can feel my legs again, but there's something else." She hesitated, her eyes locking onto his with a gaze that made his breath catch. "The neural boost seems to be affecting more than just your motor skills," Jackson observed, studying the readings. "Your entire sensory system is being intensified." "You have no idea," she whispered, reaching out to take his hand. The moment their skin touched, she gasped. "Jackson, I need doctor." Ben's notes mentioned possible side effects, he interrupted, trying to stay professional despite the electric tension between them. "This level of neural stimulation has never been recorded before." "Maybe," Thala said in a husky voice, "he never tested it on someone of my species." Or maybe, she straightened up with surprising strength, the medical gown clinging to her now flushed skin. Maybe he never tested it on someone who already carried such strong feelings for their caregiver. Jackson swallowed hard. Her grip on his hand tightened. "It's not clouding my judgment, it's just amplifying everything I already felt, making it impossible to hide behind clever words or subtle glances anymore. The ship's environmental system seems to be acting up because the med bay felt about 20 degrees too warm." Jackson tried to focus on the medical readings, but Thala's presence kept pulling his attention. He needed to keep a close eye on the integration process for any serious issues. "The only real danger," Thala said, moving closer with her enhanced strength, "is that if you don't kiss me soon, I might actually burn out." "That's the neural enhancement talking, isn't it?" She raised an eyebrow. "Then why's your pulse racing? Why are your pupils so dilated?" "The enhancement might be increasing my needs, Jackson, but it didn't create them." He ran his hand through his hair, a gesture she now saw as a blend of frustration and longing. "This isn't how I wanted this. How did you want it to happen?" Her fingertips traced patterns on his arm, each touch sending chills through both of them. "After a proper courtship, maybe some noble ritual? Just in case you forgot, I was literally handed over to you as a joke." That made him growl. "Why not? It's pretty poetic, isn't it?" Her smile was victorious. "My father thought he was punishing us both, but instead, he gave me exactly what I needed, someone who saw my potential, not my limits. Someone who helped me become whole again." "You were never broken," Jackson said passionately. "Whether paralyzed or not, you've always been the most capable person I've ever known." And now, she emphasized her legs, which were starting to obey her commands. "Now that I can feel everything, move everything," her voice became a soft whisper. "Now that every nerve in my body is craving your touch," Jackson groaned. "You're going to be the death of me, princess." "On the contrary," she purred, "I think I'll be your life." "So, are you going to keep pretending this isn't exactly what we both want, or what?" She kissed her. The neural enhancement made every sensation intensely overwhelming. Thyla's upgraded nervous system conveyed every touch, every breath, every heartbeat with startling clarity. She could feel the roughness of his stubble, the warmth of his skin, the quickening of his pulse echoing hers. When they finally pulled apart, both out of breath, Thyla's eyes shimmered softly, an aftereffect of the neural enhancement reacting to her intense feelings. "Well," she said, voice a bit unsteady but playful, "I guess that's one way to test how the system responds to stimulation. We should do some more diagnostics." Jackson didn't sound entirely convinced. "Oh, I fully plan to run thorough tests," Thyla assured him, her increased strength allowing her to gently draw him back closer. "Very detailed, very scientific tests, of course." "Naturally," he nodded, a small grin appearing on his face. "But first, we need to ensure the upgrade is fully integrated. I won't risk your health, no matter how convincing you seem." She let out an exaggerated sigh. "But you should understand that, based on these readings, physical contact with you appears to be stabilizing the neural patterns, almost as if As if what? As if we were meant to be compatible." She brushed his face softly. "As if my father's cruel joke was really the universe's way of fitting two puzzle pieces together? That's a pretty romantic interpretation. I'm a princess, you know," she reminded him. Romance runs in my blood, along with a deep attraction to stubborn human mercenaries who treat me like a person rather than a burden. Suddenly, the warning alarms on the medical devices pierced the quiet between Jackson and Thyla. Her blood lights flickered across the diagnostic screens, and her neural readings began to fluctuate dangerously. "Something's off," Jackson murmured, quickly analyzing the data. "The enhancement is destabilizing." Thyla's grip on his arm tightened as a flash of pain crossed her face. "I can feel it. It's like my nervous system is fighting against the technology," but then her eyes widened as she caught sight of something strange. "Yeah, Jackson, check the readings when you're in touch with me versus when you're not." He followed her gaze to the neural pattern display, noticing how her readings steadied almost instantly once they made contact. As soon as they pulled apart, the fluctuations returned. "That's unexpected," he murmured softly, drawing her closer as the readings improved. "Looks like our physical bond acts as a stabilizer." "Of course it does," Thyla whispered quietly, resting into his chest. "The universe sure has a strange sense of humor, huh? First my father hands me off like a joke, and now the tech meant to free me actually depends on me staying connected to you physically. We need a more permanent solution." Jackson fought to keep his tone professional, even with her warmth pressed against him. "We can't stay like this forever, right?" Her reply was playful, but a hint of vulnerability lurked underneath. "Would that really be so bad?" Before he could respond, the ship's proximity alerts blared loudly. A number of ships were rapidly closing in, their signatures matching those of Krell's forces in Baron Thex's fleet. "Perfect timing," Jackson muttered, grabbing the ship's controls while clutching Thyla close. "Think you can handle flying while I take care of the weapons?" Leah snorted, fingers flicking over the console. "I was piloting luxury cruisers long before you started stealing them." "I've never stolen a luxury cruiser." "No? What about the Celestial Dawn?" "That was legit salvage." Their teasing was suddenly cut off by the first burst of enemy fire. Jackson sharply turned the ship to port, holding Thyla against him as they dodged the barrage. Being so close actually worked in their favor. They moved together as one, instinctively reading each other's signals with surprising accuracy. "They're trying to trap us," Thyla noticed, her heightened nervous system allowing her to process tactical info at lightning speed. "Krell's ships are steering us toward my father's forces." "Good thing neither of us is headed that way then, Jackson Grinder," he said, flicking the controls quickly. "Remember those adjustments you called too flashy last week? The ones that might blow our engine?" Her eyes narrowed. "Jackson, don't even think about it," he warned. The Stellar Vagrant's engine roared as experimental thrust modulators kicked in, zipping them through a narrow gap in the enemy lines, a move that technically shouldn't have been possible. Thyla's quick reflexes were the only reason they avoided clipping a few of the chasing ships. "You're crazy," she gasped, a mix of laughter and fear in her voice. "Brilliantly, wonderfully crazy." "You love it," he shot back. Then he froze, realizing what he'd just said. "Yeah," she whispered softly, taking that rare quiet moment to turn his face toward hers. "I do." The silence hung heavy with meaning until another shockwave slammed into the ship. "We need a hiding spot," Jackson said, reluctantly refocusing on their situation. "There's a possible long-term solution we could consider for the stability issues with the enhancement." "I might have an idea," Thyla said reflectively. "Out in the Outer Rim, there's a research station that's nearly deserted, but I'm pretty sure a rogue group of scientists still uses it for experiments. They specialize in experimental biotech. Let me guess, not exactly above board? Would I be aware if it was?" She grinned. "Plus, they owe me a favor. I may have forgotten to tell my dad where it was during one of his purges." "Your father really is something else, isn't he?" "In data," she replied. "Though I probably should thank him, his latest cruel joke led me to you." She moved closer, sighing contentedly as their contact helped stabilize her neural readings. "Even if we need to figure out how to make this connection permanent without always being physically linked." Jackson's voice grew rough. "About that, if we find a way to stabilize the enhancement without this, would you want to stay with me?" She finished his thought. Her heightened senses picked up the pounding of his heartbeat.
Jackson Reed, are you asking if I want to make this official, more formal? Maybe.
His tone mixed confidence with doubt in a way that Phyla found endlessly endearing.
We get along well, and the chemistry between us is obvious.
You're the only person who's ever seen me as more than a burden or a bargaining chip, she said quietly, interrupting. The only one who saw my potential and helped me unlock it.
Even if we can stabilize this enhancement without constant contact, I'm not leaving.
Another jolt shook the ship, a reminder of their chase. But first things first, Jackson said, already working out a route to the outer rim. We need to lose our followers and find your scientists. Our pursuers might try to keep up, Phyla added smoothly, her hands moving perfectly with his on the controls.
But they don't stand a chance against us working together.
Inside the rogue scientist's base, the corridors twisted through a maze of abandoned labs set within an asteroid at the edge of known space.
Dr. Elena Reed, the lead scientist, stared at the holographic display of Phyla's neural activity with growing wonder.
This is unprecedented, she whispered, adjusting her thick glasses. The enhancement isn't just stable, it's actually improving, and those hormone levels, she turned toward Phyla, who was practically curled up in Jackson's lap on the examination table. Congrats, I guess, Jackson said, perfectly still.
What? Phyla's grip on his arm tightened, her heightened nervous system practically vibrated with excitement. I'm pregnant? Dr. Reed's smile was genuine and warm.
Yes, and it seems the pregnancy is actually helping to stabilize your neural enhancement. The fetus is acting like a natural bridge between your altered nervous system and Jackson's biology. Jackson's mind was racing.
That's really possible, he managed to say.
More than possible, Dr. Reed responded confidently.
It's exactly what your body's needed. Sorry, I didn't get any text to rewrite. Could you send me what you'd like me to work on?
Reed activated the security measures and initiated a complete data wipe. They must remain unaware of the baby. A successful human-alien hybrid with heightened neural capabilities would be too tempting a target for either Krell or Baranthex to ignore.
Phyla's expression hardened at the mention of her father's name.
He wanted to cast me aside as a burden. Now, I carry the future of two worlds within me.
Irony, isn't it?
Jackson led them through the district, one arm around Phyla, the other gripping his weapon. His cruel joke ignited something revolutionary within her. Speaking of revolution, Phyla said as they reached the hangar, I have an idea.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Because you're learning, she grinned, tugging him toward the ship. But you'll do it anyway, because you love me.
Not obvious, huh?
As obvious as the fact that I'm carrying your child, her expression softened. Our child, the perfect blend of human and alien excellence. They arrived at the stellar vessel just as. Once inside, Phyla swiftly accessed the ship's communication array.
What are you doing?
Jackson asked, their hands still in contact as they prepared for launch. Broadcasting, she replied, fingers flying over the controls. To everyone listening, I'm revealing my father's weapons deals, Krell's, operations and most importantly, proof that humans and aliens can create something beautiful together.
You're planning to start a social revolution while we're running for our lives? Jackson questioned. Why not?
Her eyes shone with resolve.
My father thought I was useless because I was paralyzed. Krell saw me as just a bargaining chip. But you saw what I could be. Now it's time for everyone else to see it too.
The ship took off just as enemy vessels emerged in the asteroid field. Jackson expertly navigated through the debris while Phyla managed communications and defenses, their movements perfectly coordinated thanks to their constant communication. You know, Jackson said as they dodged another barrage of fire. When I accepted your payment for that job, I never imagined it would lead to us starting a family amid a revolution.
Disappointed?
Phyla asked, though her heightened senses picked up exactly how he felt. He corrected, pulling her closer as they jumped into hyperspace.
Still, maybe we should discuss wedding plans sometime.
I mean, if you're into it, Jackson Reed, she interrupted, turning to glance at him with a teasing smile.
I'm carrying your baby.
I literally can't function properly without your touch.
And I'm about to overthrow my father's corrupt regime with you by my side.
So, I think we've moved past traditional courtship.
Is that a yes?
It's more like, you're stuck with me forever. You, a wonderful person who saw past my flaws and gave me everything I never knew I needed.
I'm okay with that.
He grinned, then tensed as another alarm blared. But first, we've got to deal with the fleet of ships trailing us.
Phyla had already reinforced their shields.
Trust me, they don't stand a chance against us now. No longer just fighting for ourselves, our hand briefly rested on our stomach before returning to the controls. We're fighting for a future, one where no one's seen as a burden, where potential isn't constrained by prejudice or disability. A future a child can be proud of, Jackson agreed, and together they turned to face whatever challenges might come. Their bonds felt stronger than ever. The communication array for the stellar vagrants buzzed incessantly with incoming messages. Phyla's broadcast had resonated throughout the sector, prompting responses from others who'd faced similar discrimination and those inspired by their story.
Another resistance cell just reached out.
Phyla declared from her spot in Jackson's lap, fingers moving swiftly across the holographic interface. Former military personnel discharged for various issues, and they want to help. Jackson nuzzled her neck, partly out of affection and partly because their constant need for contact had made such intimacy as natural as breathing.
Her father's going to regret throwing away so many capable people.
He already does, she purred, leaning back against him as waves of pleasure rippled through her enhanced nervous system. Our latest intelligence suggests, she gasped suddenly, her body tensing. But Phyla, Jackson's concern turned to amazement as the ship's sensors began registering unprecedented energy readings emanating from her body. The neural enhancement amplified by her pregnancy hormones had begun manifesting in unexpected ways. The holographic displays around them responded to her thoughts.
Data streaming faster than should have been possible.
Her pale green skin glowed with an inner light and her eyes blazed with newfound power. I can feel everything, she whispered. The ship's systems, the surrounding void, I can sense the movements of the chasing fleets before they even happen, Jackson. She held onto him tighter, needing that solid grip as her powers intensified.
The pregnancy must be accelerating her enhancements.
Dr. Reed's data hinted it might happen, but not this fast.
It's beyond just augmentation now.
Phyla guided his hand to her slightly swollen belly. Our child, I can feel their consciousness merging with the technology, creating something entirely new.
The perfect blend of human adaptability and alien potential. Suddenly, an alarm blared, a warning. Baranthex's flagship had just come out of hyperspace, leading a fleet of warships.
Perfect timing for a test run, Jackson said, but Phyla was already moving. Through their constant physical link, he felt flashes of her new abilities, how she now perceived space itself as a flexible, moldable fabric. How she could predict the ship's course and intentions, as if some impossible combination of superhuman neural speed and maternal instinct were guiding her. The wandering star moved like an alive thing beneath her control, gliding past the initial attack with effortless finesse. But instead of retreating, Phyla did something totally unexpected. She reached out with her new abilities, manipulating the enemy ship's systems.
What are you doing? Jackson asked, spellbound. Showing them what they need to see?
Her voice had an otherworldly quality. The real lesson about what happens when you underestimate those you think are broken. The enemy fleet's weapons went silent as their crews stared at data flashing across their screens, proof of Baranthex's crimes, evidence of his treachery, and critically, medical scans revealing the miraculous growth of Phyla and Jackson's child. They're standing down, Jackson said, breathless.
All of them except your father's flagship.
Phyla offered a tentative smile, though her tone was edged with steel.
He's too stubborn to admit he's wrong.
Me, about humans, about everything, the Baron's voice crackled through the shared systems.
You really think you can turn my own fleet against me? You're just a cripple I should have discarded years ago.
No, father, Phyla countered, her enhanced abilities allowing her to send her words directly into every ship's communication.
I am what happens when someone sees potential rather than weakness.
When love replaces cruelty, when a joke becomes a miracle. She faced Jackson, her eyes glowing with energy and longing. I need you, she whispered.
The baby, the enhancements, everything grows stronger when we're fully united.
He grasped her immediately, pulling her into an intense kiss that made ripples of energy swirl through the ship's systems. Their bond, physical and emotional, pushed her powers to new heights.
United by their bond, they faced what lay ahead as one.
Phyla reached out with her heightened perception, supported by Jackson's calm presence, and effortlessly shut down her father's ship. Every system, weapon, engine, everything was disabled with a single thought. The Baron's voice was barely a whisper.
"No," Phyla corrected him. "Potential, the very thing you never saw in me, the thing Jackson saw from the start."
The Allied ships they'd contacted in recent weeks began emerging from hyperspace, surrounding the now quiet flagship.
Their arrival wasn't happenstance.
Phyla had orchestrated it all with her enhanced powers.
"It's over, Father," she declared. "Your reign of cruelty ends today, and a new chapter begins, a future where no one is left behind, where differences are celebrated, and humor guides our destiny."
Jackson held her close, astonished at how the woman he once thought of as a burden had become the most powerful catalyst for change the sector had ever seen.
"I love you," he whispered into her skin, feeling their connection throb in response.
"I know," she replied with a smile that was both victorious and alluring.
"Now take me to our quarters. This pregnant, enhanced former paralytic princess needs some quality time with her human before we finish transforming the sector." The interrogation of Baron Thex uncovered a truth darker than anyone had imagined. The arms deals, the discrimination against the imperfect, it was all part of a larger scheme orchestrated by an ancient alien council called the Purity Directive. They'd been pulling the strings behind societies for centuries.
Phyla explained to the gathered resistance leaders, her enhanced senses helping her piece together the intricate web of conspiracy while staying in physical contact with Jackson, maintaining their species separation, encouraging genetic purity, and preventing the union that sparked all this.
She gestured toward her now noticeable belly, where their baby's presence had transformed her neural enhancements into something extraordinary.
"The directive contends that mixing species only weakens them," Jackson added, his arm protectively wrapped around Phyla. "They'd never considered it might, in fact, make them stronger."
The final confrontation unfolded deep within the directive's secret station.
Phyla, nearly 8 months pregnant, stood beside Jackson in the control room, their bond boosting her abilities to levels even the ancient aliens paused to recognize. "You're challenging millennia of meticulous genetic design," the directive's energy being leader proclaimed. "No," Phyla responded, her skin glowing with power as Jackson held her close.
"We're here to show you otherwise, see." With her amplified skills, she laid everything bare, data, experience, all of it. "Another remarkable blend of human and alien strength. I never got paid for that first job," she joked. She pulled him down for a kiss that sent pleasant shivers through their enhanced nerves. "No, my love, you got something much better." "Everything," he said, holding his family tightly, "I have it all."
The moment Jackson recognized her potential instead of dwelling on her paralysis, and how their love turned a cruel joke into a miracle, the perfect harmony of human resilience and alien progress thriving within her.
"Impossible," the leader murmured. "That's what my father used to say," Phyla replied with a smile.
Before they introduced a better way, the conflict wasn't resolved with weapons but with truth.
Phyla and Jackson, their bond stronger than ever, used their connection to bridge reality across the galaxy.
Years of deception unraveled, revealing the true beauty of diversity and the strength in seeing potential where others saw only limits. The power of the directives wasn't maintained through violence but through understanding. Species that had been separated for generations began reaching out to one another.
Those once seen as imperfect found their unique qualities embraced instead of rejected. A month later, at the newly established Unity Medical Center, the former Baron Thex's citadel, Phyla went into labor.
The enhancement was spiraling out of control, she gasped, clutching Jackson as waves of sensation flooded her flooded nerves.
"I can feel everything."
"Focus on me," he whispered, their years of constant touch strengthening their bond like never before. As always, the birth was a miracle that drew spectators from across the galaxy.
When their child was born, Phyla's neural enhancement pulsed with an unmatched intensity, affecting every system in the hospital.
Their daughter was perfect, pale green skin like her mother's, dark hair like her father's, and eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of two worlds. The moment she was placed in Phyla's arms, with Jackson supporting them both. Every piece of technology in the room responded to her presence. "She's stunning," Jackson whispered, gazing at their daughter already showing signs of remarkable neural development and resilience. "She's hope," Phyla corrected, her powers blending with their child's, a living testament that true strength lies in embracing differences instead of fearing them. Baron Thax, now redeemed and striving to make up for his past errors, had the opportunity to meet his granddaughter. When he saw her, all his old prejudices evaporated. "I was such a fool," he confessed, watching the girl start to manipulate nearby systems with just her mind. "I gave away my most treasured gift as a joke, never realizing it could turn into something extraordinary." "That's behind us now," Phyla said with conviction, leaning into Jackson's hug as their daughter displayed abilities unlike anything seen before. "Love is about recognizing promise where others only see issues, and realizing that sometimes the harshest jokes can set the stage for the most wonderful futures." "You know," Jackson said one evening, as he watched their daughter demonstrate her skills,